Hey guys, and we're now back with some more Lamplight City once it pops up on the screen. There we go. So we're going to carry on from where we left off, which I believe was... It was to do with someone's brother that got shot. I can't remember what his name was, but I kind of vaguely remember it. It's been even a day though, right? Since I last played it, so let's carry on. Right, so I'm trying to think what I last did. I've been there. We've got a description of a strange man. I remember that was like they said he's all dressed in black with like mutton chops, but then someone said they saw someone matching that description who had red hair under his cap, and the beard, or mutton chops as they were, looked as though they were slipping off the guy's face, which makes you think that it could be someone trying to impersonate the look of someone else.
Leave him be. She's not gonna be much help right now. That's not to bother her.
And she said about something like, what, a left scar on his... He had a cheek on his left... a scar on his left cheek that was shaped like a farmer's crook. If I remember rightly.
She doesn't seem the type for idle chat. Best wait until you've got something to ask her. Let's not stick around here if there's nothing more to ask about right now.
At least we know what the murder weapon is. We've got the murder weapon. We've matched up with the bullets. We know exactly who you... Oh, we know exactly what weapon was used, just not who used it.
Could I have another moment of your time, Mr. Puffin?
Yes, I suppose so.
Do you know anyone named Ned?
Ned? Well, yes, I do. My nephew, Ned Bunkridge.
Your nephew?
Yes, why do you ask?
Where might I find Ned? I'd like to speak with him.
Is everything all right? Ned hasn't gotten into any trouble, has he? I always tell him just because he's training his body, that's no excuse to pick fights.
No, he hasn't gotten into any trouble.
Oh, well, he lives in Lyon, at 511 Parkside Terrace.
Right. Thank you for the information.
I'll
I'll let you resume your practicing, Mr. Puffin.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
He won't have anything relevant to tell us right now. I don't think he'll be much more help at the moment.
Right this way, sir. Mr. Bunkridge is in his gymnasium.
Thank you, my good man.
Well, you take a look at this place. And take a look at him. Maybe you should consider doing some training yourself, Miles. You aren't getting any younger after all. What in the ether is that supposed to be? Looks like some kind of medieval torture device. Then again, so does most of this newfangled exercise equipment. They don't look that heavy to me. This seems to be where Ned keeps his extra equipment, and assorted other garbage. Oh, look, maybe you can slip these on and go a couple of rounds with Ned. If that's his best right hook, he'll be a pushover. And after that expert knockout you delivered Officer Grant, he won't stand a chance. Some kind of martial art? Doesn't look like any I've ever heard of. Makes you wonder if old Nettie boy is at the end of his rope, too.
Excuse me, Mr. Bunkridge?
Oh, hello. Who are you?
I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator. Your valet let me in.
Right, of course. What can I do for you?
I have a few questions for you, if you'd be so kind.
Yes, all right. I could use a bit of a rest anyway.
How do you feel about the election outcome?
I'm disappointed. Atwood may not have been the greatest PM, but he was pro-Steam Tech. Sure, the Lygia incident was a tragedy, but people are too quick to judge. Steam technology is a boon to mankind. It's already enriched my life considerably. It's a shame the progress is going to be held back because of one isolated occurrence.
I agree. Technological advancement doesn't come cheap, but it shouldn't be abandoned entirely. You're very into physical conditioning, aren't you?
Oh, you noticed. Yes, I believe that a healthy body is just as important as a healthy mind, if not more so.
Well, he's definitely prioritizing the former.
It's important to keep fit, especially at a job like mine where I'm in a chair most of the day.
What job is that?
I'm a clerk at the Bank of Vespuccia, but someday I hope to leave and teach others about the health benefits of regular exercise. Perhaps even open up my own gymnasium.
Ha! He actually thinks people are gonna go for that? Good luck to him.
Does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Yes, it most certainly does. My lady love is named Priscilla Poundstone.
I see. What can you tell me about her?
Oh, she's a darling. I love her very much. Such a kind and gentle soul she is, too. Loves animals, especially dogs.
Because
We've been
the
together
victim
for
called out
ages
Priscilla.
and are due to be married soon.
When was the last time you saw her?
Saw her? Oh, no, Mr. Fordham. She doesn't live in New Britannia. She attends Miss Threadneedle's Academy for Young Ladies in Cormorant.
She lives in New Holland?
That's right. I've never actually met Priscilla face to face. We communicate exclusively through correspondence.
How did you two get involved?
Her father and mine were old military friends. They decided between them that their children would be engaged.
And you're both in agreement?
Yes. I admit at first I was a bit hesitant, but we share many of the same interests. The distance between us is not a detriment to our love.
I wonder how that will change once they actually begin cohabiting.
So you correspond regularly with Priscilla?
That's right. At least one letter a week. My uncle does me the kindness of acting as courier.
You think I might have a look at one of those letters?
What for? They're private correspondence.
I understand, but I feel this is important. Perhaps you could show me one that isn't too personal.
Yes, I suppose that would be all right. In fact, I think there's a recent one on the shelf there. That's not too private. But you won't need to take it, will you?
Not at all. I just want to have a look. Tell me about your uncle.
You know Tom?
I've met him, yes. He's the one who told me where you lived.
Oh, right. Well, my uncle is, an interesting man.
Is that an interesting of the good or bad variety?
I really wish he would take better care of himself is all. I have the feeling that he's on some sort of drug, although he always denies it.
What gives you that impression?
Well, most of the time he acts completely normal. He goes to work, visits with me. Sometimes we go out together to the theater or a gallery. But some days his mood changes. He goes very solitary, won't leave his house, gets short with me. One time I went to visit him. I heard him yelling along with what sounded like furniture being knocked about. It only happened once, but it worried me. I hope Tom isn't in any sort of trouble.
Opium is one hell of a drug. Good thing you never got to that point with the soporific, or Adelaide would have thrown you out much sooner.
Are you all right, Mr. Fordham?
Yes, I'm fine.
What? Too soon?
Could you give me Tom's address?
You don't have it? I thought you said you'd spoken with him.
I visited him at the cathedral.
But if he's there, why do you want his address?
He interests me. I'd like to look at his things.
He interests you.
Yes, choir master, musician. He seems a very intriguing fellow. You said so yourself.
And how will going to his apartment and looking at his things help you?
I'll get to know him better?
You're an odd man, Mr. Fordham. I don't think I'll be giving you that address. In fact, maybe you should just stay away from my uncle. And me as well, for that matter.
Ah, wonderful. Making friends everywhere you go, as usual.
Wait, did he give us an address or not? I wasn't paying attention, sorry. No, he didn't. So, I forgot to look at any of these letters.
You won't be much more help right now.
Have you got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
Are you familiar with someone who goes by the name Jimbo?
No, I don't think so. Who is that?
A friend of Ronan's.
No, as I told you, I didn't know Ronan to have any friends. I especially don't recall him mentioning anyone called Jimbo.
Did Ronan know anyone named Priscilla?
Priscilla? No, I never heard that name before. Who is she?
Just a name that's come up in my investigation.
I wonder if Ronan had finally met a young woman.
Oh, boy. Now you've done it.
Those are all the questions I have for now.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
Have you got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
I've completed my investigation of your brother's murder, Mrs. Morgan.
You have? Oh, that's such a relief to hear. Who killed him?
It was James Bogroff, commonly known as Jimbo. He's a sailor aboard the SS Priscilla, and up until recently, he was Ronan's lover.
His lover? You mean Ronan was?
Yes, it seems Ronan was leading a secret life.
So why did he do it? Why did Jimbo kill Ronan?
I believe it was a crime of passion, Mrs. Morgan. Ronan believed Jimbo had been seeing someone else. It was quite possible that they had a heated argument which went very wrong, and Ronan wound up dead.
And what about the clothes he was wearing? Or why he was in Chumley in the first place?
I'm afraid those are questions I cannot answer, Mrs. Morgan.
I feel like
However,
we
I
missed
have
something.
sufficient evidence to place Jimbo at the scene of the crime.
Well, I suppose that's good enough then. So what happens now?
Now I'll inform Miss Upton of my findings, and she'll send an officer along to arrest Mr. Bogroff. From there, justice will be served accordingly.
I see. Thank you for your help, Mr. Fordham.
Begging your pardon, folks, but I'm looking for a James Bogroff, also known as Jimbo.
That's me, officer.
Mr. Bogroff, I'm placing you under arrest for the murder of Ronan Lespay.
What? But I didn't.
I suggest you remain silent until we get to the station for your questioning. Now come along, we haven't got all day.
You know, Miles, you've been coming in here a lot lately, but you've never looked quite this glum. What's going on?
I've bungled things pretty badly at home. Been staying with a friend the past couple of weeks.
I see. What happened?
I haven't been honest with my wife. Coming here and drowning my sorrows hasn't really helped, oddly enough. And yet, it's all I can do to keep from going crazy.
You know, Miles, I've seen and heard a lot of things over the years. Some of the stories would turn your hair white. But through it all, I've come to learn one thing. It's usually not too late to make things better, but only if you let yourself try.
Thank you for the advice, Patrick.
All I can do is give it, Miles. Whether you choose to take it or not is entirely up to you. Now, would you like another gin?
No, thank you. This time I really do need to be on my way. I should go and see how my wife is doing.
I see. Well, have a good night, Miles. And good luck to you.
Who in the ether? Miles? This is a surprise.
Addie, it's so good to see you. I've been such an idiot lately.
Well, I'm glad you can admit to it. Would you like to come in?
Very much.
Was there something you wanted to talk about?
I've given it a lot of thought, and I think it's time I finally told you the truth.
Miles, what are you doing? You know this is a terrible idea.
The truth?
About why I've been acting the way I have been since Bill died.
Well, go on. I'm listening.
Don't do it, Miles. You know it's a one-way ticket to Riverview if you do.
I've been hearing Bill's voice ever since he died.
Fordham, what is wrong with you?
His voice?
I can't believe this! You've just destroyed your life! I hope you realize that!
Yes, in my head, at all hours. That's why I was taking the soporific. It was the only way to keep him quiet. Or so I thought. Turns out that alcohol has the same effect.
What does he say to you?
The type of things he'd say when he was alive. Snarky comments, inappropriate jokes. Mainly he nags me to find the flower shop burglar. He thinks doing that will let him find peace and move on.
I see.
I told you you'd think I was crazy.
Don't be ridiculous, Miles. It's nothing like that. It's just, I wish you had told me sooner is all.
I know, but I was afraid.
Well, I'm glad you finally trusted me. You know, you could have all along.
So, you're all right with it?
It is quite a lot to take in. I think I'll need some time to mull it over. But what matters now is that we can work through this together.
I understand. Well, I should probably go. It was lovely to see you again, Addie.
Lovely to see you too, Miles.
Perhaps I'll stop by again next week?
Or sooner, if you'd like.
Sure. Like the men in white coats aren't gonna have you taken away by then.
Right. I'll see myself out then.
Good night, Miles.
Fordham, wake up.
Huh? He just leapt over the side. I don't... Oh, Upton. What's going on?
Goodness, Fordham. You look terrible. Is everything all right?
Just had some trouble sleeping. More than usual.
Well, I hope you've rested enough, because I've got something very important to show you.
Oh, wonderful. If we're sharing information now, are you gonna tell Upton about me as well?
What is it?
There's been a murder.
I assume this one is special somehow, or you wouldn't be bringing it to me.
I thought that great detectives never assumed.
There are exceptions to every rule.
Anyway, you're right. The victim in question is a member of Parliament, a man named Percival McDonough, to be precise. But this is the real corker. The murder is clearly the work of the Justice Killer.
Who in the ether is the Justice Killer?
Haven't you been reading the papers? He's the one who's been killing all the men in Chumley. We've discussed it on at least one occasion.
Ah, yes. Now I remember. Why Justice Killer, though?
It's part of his modus operandi. He kills his victims with a single gunshot to the head, then writes the word justice somewhere in the room with the victim's blood.
Talk about melodramatic.
The police are stumped. This is the killer's 5th victim, and there isn't a single lead.
So you want me to investigate?
Not just yet. First, I need you to look at these sketches.
You took crime scene sketches from the department?
Of course not. I made copies with the station's Pharaoh duplicator. These killings need to stop, and I believe you can succeed where the department has so far failed.
So, what am I looking for?
The police went over each crime scene with a fine-toothed comb and turned up practically no useful physical evidence. I want a second opinion from you. If you can find some sort of link between them, it might be possible to track this monster down.
It's a shot in the dark. I can't guarantee I'll find anything that the police didn't see, but it's worth a look.
Here are the 4 sketches. Have a look at them and see if you notice anything that might help us find this maniac.
Maybe you should write crazy over your bed. Wait, what's that? I see an important clue. Just kidding. Boring, just like everything else in this sketch. Boring. I'm really not in the mood to be analyzing crime scene sketches right now. Yeah, he's dead. Big deal.
But there's the flower. It looks like a lily. I guess, what's his face is just being a bit ignorant at this point.
Oh, were you hoping for some witty insight? Shame, because you're not getting any. I'm sure this is terribly relevant, but I've got nothing to say about it. I don't feel like looking at dead bodies right now. Is there something more exciting we could be doing? Whoever drew this was a hack. That looks more like a piece of toast than a flower.
Interesting.
Oh, what? You actually found something without my help? I'm shocked. If only you hadn't told Adelaide about me, I might share my thoughts with you. As it is, you're on your own.
Upton?
What is it, Fordham?
About those crime scene sketches.
Yes?
I think I found a connection.
I knew you would. What is it?
There's a single flower at each crime scene. They look deliberately placed.
There is? Let me have a look. You're right. 1 lily at each scene.
Wait, what did you say?
Lily.
These
see?
flowers, they're lilies. Easter lilies, I think.
I don't believe it!
Upton, this is incredible. This is the lead I've been searching for.
What? You mean for another case?
The flower shop burglar. He was stealing Easter lilies. And I distinctly remember him saying something about his desire to uphold justice. At the time, I thought it was just the rambling of a lunatic, but now it seems so obvious.
So the flower shop burglar is the Justice Killer?
It seems too much of a coincidence otherwise.
Well, then that's wonderful. You can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Excellent work, Fordham. I knew you could do it.
Everything all right with you?
Oh, I'm getting by. I expect things will go back to normal once this killer is caught.
I haven't worn out my welcome here yet, have I?
No, you're still tolerable. But when was the last time you washed your hair?
You're starting to sound like Adelaide. What exactly are the details regarding this justice killer?
The killings began a few months ago, and so far he's claimed 5 victims. The department wanted to keep this information out of the public eye to prevent a panic, but word has gotten out. On the bright side, it makes your involvement in the case much less suspicious.
What can you tell me about the previous victims?
4 men from Chumley: Hannibal Kirkland, Reggie Willingham, Ennis Bowditch, and Burley Cause. No known connection between any of them aside from the borough they lived in. I have copies of the police reports from each of the crime scenes. Go ahead and take them.
Thank you, Upton. What are the details regarding the killer's latest victim?
As I mentioned, the victim is Percival McDonough, a member of Parliament. He was found this morning by his secretary in his office. I expect the official investigation is still underway.
So the killer managed to get into the Houses of Parliament. No easy feat.
You can say that again. It's the killer's first high-profile victim. It means he's getting bolder.
I suppose I'll have to drop by and see for myself. I should get back to it.
Not a bad idea.
Right. I think I have enough information to get started. I think I'll begin with...
Odd. I wasn't expecting company. Chief Snelling?
Uh-oh.
Upton, we need to talk. Fordham, I should have guessed I'd find you here.
Chief Snelling, you're the last person I was expecting to see today.
Likewise, Fordham. However, having you here saves me a bit of trouble.
Trouble?
Those are some rather interesting decorations. Would either of you care to explain how they got here?
And once again, the jig is up. I hope you can talk your way out of this one, too.
I brought them here, after I made duplicates and took them from the police department.
Nice try, Fordham, but I know for a fact that isn't true. The Ferroduplicator makes a report of every employee who uses it, as well as what was copied. A rather useful feature for instances such as these. Wouldn't you agree?
These gadgets are going to be the undoing of us all.
In any case, I did some digging and discovered some intriguing information. Upton, why have you been passing on classified police information to Mr. Fordham?
Because he's the best detective you ever had on the force, and you know it.
Is that right? Personally, I don't consider getting your partner killed the mark of a great detective. But what's done is done. Constance Upton, your employment with the New Britannia Police Department is hereby terminated.
But
I should add that it's only because of your 25 years of dedicated service that I'm not pressing charges against you. But as for you, Fordham, I have enough evidence to place you under arrest for obstruction of justice and interfering with police investigations. Do you have anything to say in your defense before I take you in for questioning?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I know who the Justice Killer is.
Fordham, if this is your idea of a diversion...
It's true. I found a link in the sketches of the crime scenes.
All right, let's hear it then. What do you think you found?
I'll tell you if you promise to let me take the case.
Out of the question, Fordham. This is a police matter.
And the police haven't made progress in months. Fordham figured it out in a matter of minutes. Admit it, Snelling. Fordham is your best shot at finding the killer. Are you gonna let your personal differences put the people of this city in danger?
Fine. I'll let you continue to operate as an assistant in this case, if you have actually found something of value. Now, what is this link?
He leaves a single Easter lily at each crime scene. The same type of flowers the burglar in the Chum was stealing.
I see. A tenuous link, but plausible. I'll give you until tomorrow afternoon. If you haven't come up with anything, I'm throwing you in jail.
Oh,
Sounds fair to
okay.
me.
And don't get any clever ideas about leaving town either.
Come now, would I do something like that?
Fordham, it seems there's no telling what you might do. I'm probably a fool for not clapping you in irons right here and now. When you have something to report, come find me in my office. Don't make me regret this.
Well, that went better than I expected.
Except you're still fired. I didn't have a chance to get him to change his mind.
We'll worry about that after you catch the killer. In the meantime, I could use a drink. I'll see you later, Fordham.
Well, better get to work then. The clock is ticking.
Just save the game here. I've also just realised the stream boss isn't actually loaded up, so I'm just gonna, before we save this, quickly just try and fix that. There we go. Sometimes that derps out and I don't know why. Like, there's no reason for it to derp out. Right, so we know that the Lily is the connection. That seems to be the only plausible connection at the moment. Ooh.
Fordham, what brings you to this delightful spectacle?
Hello, Edwards. I'm investigating the Justice Killer. I believe I've got a very promising lead.
I heard an officer mention new orders from Snelling, but I thought he was just pulling my leg. Feel free to have a look around. I'm just writing up the notes from my initial examination of the body, so I'll be happy to share my findings.
Good. I'll just get started then.
Looks pretty fresh. I wonder what the killer uses to write with. Nothing but a bunch of boring documents. You'd think he could have at least been considerate enough to keep something scandalous in here. These appear to be books on cryptography. I suppose everyone needs a hobby. History books and political theory. I might die of boredom. Again. No signs of forced entry that I can see. The murderer didn't come in through this window. Leave it to a politician to hang a portrait of himself in his own office.
So the month's been torn out.
Odd. The page for this month has been torn out. You suppose Edwards might know anything about that? The former Percival McDonough, being a good politician.
But where's the Lily? That's the question. Because there's no Lily on the crime scene.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
Edwards, did you notice McDonough's desk calendar?
I did. This month has been torn out. I asked the officers investigating the scene, and they had no idea what happened to it.
So it wasn't found in this room?
That's right. My theory is that the killer took it.
Which means there was probably something incriminating written on it. If only there was some way of knowing what it was.
Miles, have you forgotten the oldest trick in the book? Just
Yep.
find a pencil and you'll have that information in no time.
Edwards, do you have a pencil I might borrow?
Of course. Take this one.
Thank you. Does it feel good to be out of the office?
As long as I have the chance to examine a body and learn something in the process, I don't care where I am. Though I do admit a preference to working in my own environment. Fieldwork can be a bit uncertain. There's so much more potential for contamination, especially with those clumsy officers trouncing about groping everything. Present company excluded, of course.
So, what was found at the crime scene?
A dead body.
Edwards.
Hey, just trying to lighten the mood a bit. Anyway, there was also the word justice written in blood, as you can see on the floor there.
Is that all?
What more do you need? All the pieces are in place. This is the work of the justice killer.
What did your examination of the body turn up?
Apparent cause of death was a single gunshot to the head, exactly like all the other victims. The bullet is still lodged in his brain. I'll remove it once I transport the body back to the mortuary.
Anything else?
No personal effects of note, just a folded up piece of paper in his breast pocket. It's blank, so the police weren't interested. I assume you aren't either.
Never assume, Edwards. I'll take it if you don't mind.
Be my guest.
Did the police manage to learn anything during their investigation?
Not much beyond what I've already told you. I think they were planning on speaking to the victim's wife, though.
Did you get the address?
I did, as a matter of fact. 1820 Kent Place.
Now we get to deal with the grieving widow. Hopefully the officers who delivered the news got the worst of it.
Did you find an Easter lily anywhere?
An Easter lily?
Yes. The justice killer leaves one at every crime scene.
Is that right? I never noticed.
Neither did anyone else, apparently.
So how does leaving a lily at the scene of the crime figure into all of this?
I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think it might be important to understanding his motive.
Well, be sure to let me know if you do figure it out. The thought process of killers is a twisted, curious thing.
What's your take on this whole justice killer situation?
It's giving me a lot of extra work, let me tell you. We haven't had a serial murderer in a long time. Not since that fellow who was poisoning people about 10 years ago.
Ah, yes. Gascon Gould. Now there was a case.
Any theories or insights regarding the killer's motive or identity?
That's not really my specialty. If you want to get into that psychology stuff, you're better off talking to someone like Snelling.
That's all for now, Edwards.
Good luck with your investigation.
A classic trick. Let's see if it works. Intriguing. We'll need to find out who this Ruby is. Aha! McDonough met with this person the night of the murder. I'll bet 500 crowns it's a false name, but at least it's something. No time to waste with further... Nothing but a bunch of boring...
What? Who are you?
I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. Your butler just announced me.
Oh, of course. Forgive me. I was just, well, never mind. Please make yourself comfortable, Mr. Fordham.
Thank you, Mrs. McDonough.
Just a painting of some boring old aristocrat. Surely this one was called Lady Felicity Euphemia Beaversnatch the Simple. They look expensive, but I bet they're totally worthless. I feel sorry for the sucker who has to clean them. Lord Alfred Edward Shufflebottom the Wise comes to mind when looking at this one. This one looks like a Lady Camilla Prudence Wigglewaddle the Grey. I think I'll call this one Lord Edmund Henry Lickspittle the Elder. They look expensive, but I bet they're totally worth.
I appreciate you seeing me, Mrs. McDonough. I know you must be going through a difficult time right now.
What exactly is it you want from me, Mr. Fordham? I already spoke to the police about my husband's murder.
I just have a few questions of my own.
Oh, very well.
What can you tell me about your husband?
I'll tell you the same thing I told the police, Mr. Fordham. Percival was one of the hardest working members of Parliament. He took his job extremely seriously. The recent election caused him a terrible amount of consternation, as I'm sure it did most people. He took Atwood's loss rather hard.
Did you see much of him?
I beg your pardon?
Surely someone with such an important position in government could find themselves consumed by their work. Did he spend much time at home?
He made it a point to come home and have dinner with me every night, even if he had to return to the office afterwards.
And did that happen often?
At least 3 or 4 times in a week, yes. He'd stay in his office working late into the night. As I said, he was very dedicated to his role.
Sounds to me like she's quite dedicated to hers, too.
Did your husband have any enemies?
He was a politician, Mr. Fordham. Half the city hated him.
Did he ever receive any kind of threats against his life?
None that I was ever made aware of. I have no idea who could have killed him, let alone who could have gotten into his office to do it. He hadn't told me about any meetings or appointments this week either.
Was it his custom to inform you of his work affairs?
Oh, well, I've always taken an interest in my husband's work. He'd often mention initiatives he was working on or people he was meeting, that sort of thing. Nothing sensitive or confidential, you understand. Just conversation about his day.
Can you think of any reason why your husband would have been murdered?
Not really. He was a vocal opponent of the construction of the Gascogne-Chumley Bridge, but I hardly think that would have been sufficient reason to drive someone to murder.
Why is that?
Well, it's just a bridge, isn't it? There are plenty of other ways to get to Chumley.
I meant, why was he opposed to it?
Oh, because the amount of money required to build it is exorbitant. Public funds should be used on roads and buildings that are falling apart. What's the point of having something shiny and new if everything around it is in disrepair?
How are you feeling, Mrs. McDonough?
My husband of 42 years was shot in his office. How do you think I feel?
Tactful as always, Fordham. How do you do it?
My apologies. Perhaps that wasn't the most appropriate question. Is there anything I can do to help?
You can start by finding the monster who murdered Percival.
Are you familiar with the art of cryptography, Mrs. McDonough?
What an odd question.
It's just I noticed several books on the subject in your husband's office.
Oh, well, yes. Percival was interested in cryptography and secret messages and the like. He would sometimes leave me coded notes when we first began courting many years ago.
What kind of notes?
Oh, now, Mr. Fordham, those were private. But Percival got a thrill out of knowing I was the only one who could read them. Sometimes he would write them using a special ink that would only appear when the paper was heated. I can't remember the last time he did that, though.
Do you know anyone named Shackley?
No, I've never heard that name before. Why?
I saw your husband had a meeting scheduled with him shortly before his murder.
That can't be right. He didn't tell me about that. He always told me about his meetings.
It was written on his office calendar, clear as day.
As I said, I don't know who that person is. Why wouldn't Percival have told me about their meeting?
Why indeed?
Are you familiar with someone named Ruby?
I can't say I am. Who is it?
Just a name that's come up in my investigation.
Sounds like the name of a trollop. Or perhaps a dog.
Have you heard of the Justice Killer?
That was the name the police mentioned when they told me about Percival's murder. It's absolutely terrifying to think that one sick person could be capable of such evil. Why is he called the Justice Killer? What justice was done by murdering my husband?
I'm afraid I can't answer that right now, Mrs. McDonough, but I intend to find out. Those are all the questions I have for now, Mrs. McDonough.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
If this actually works, I'll eat my hat. Well, I'll be damned.
Can we talk some more, Mrs. McDonough?
I suppose so, yes.
Do you know anything about this letter?
I'm afraid I don't have my spectacles. What is it?
The coroner found it in your husband's pocket. He gave it to me because he thought it was blank. But after you told me about your husband's propensity for writing secret messages, I decided to try exposing the paper to heat. Allow me to read it to you. Dearest Mary, words cannot express the regret and sorrow I feel for how I acted last night. I swore to myself I would never harm you again after the last time, but I have failed us both. It is my deepest hope that you can forgive me and trust that I will never allow this monster out again.
I see. May I have that letter, Mr. Fordham?
I'm afraid I have to keep it for now. It's evidence.
I suppose that does make sense.
Mrs. McDonough, did Percival mistreat or abuse you?
He wasn't a bad man, Mr. Fordham. I wouldn't have married him if he was. It's just the stress of his responsibilities would sometimes oppress him. I would try and offer comfort, soothe his nerves, but there were a few instances where he lost control of his passions.
Did he ever hit you?
He did.
How many times did this happen?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 2 or 3. You don't exactly count these things.
What a bastard. Maybe it serves him right for getting shot.
Thank you for your candor, Mrs. McDonough.
Can we please talk about something else?
Those are all the questions I have for now, Mrs. McDonough.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
No time to waste with further
These all seem to be workers, don't they? But this one's the Prime Minister.
Good evening.
Evening to you, sir. You're looking for a job, I'm afraid we're currently all booked up.
No, actually, I was wondering if I might ask you a few questions.
Shouldn't be a problem.
So you're a driver here?
I am, sir. The pay isn't so great, but beats starving to death in the gutter. Don't know what else to tell you, really.
What can you tell me about Coulson Cabs?
Not a bad place, really. Only problem is the number of people always coming here for work. Lots of folks think driving a cab is an easy job that anyone can do, but that's not the case. You need to know this city like the back of your hand, and it helps to know how to drive. So we get lots of fellas starting here who don't have the slightest clue what they're doing. They don't last long.
What about the automated cabs? Are those a problem for you?
I prefer not to think about those. Coulson has said he's got no plans to replace his fleet, so it's all that matters to me.
Did you know Reggie Willingham?
Reggie? Sure, I knew him. Well, just as rather I didn't.
Oh? Why do you say that?
The man was a bore, a scoundrel, a no-good bounder.
I wish he would tell us how he really felt.
Only reason they kept him on here was because he was a good driver.
So it's fair to say you didn't like him?
Nobody did. When I heard he'd been killed, it wasn't exactly a surprise. If I treated people the way he did, I'd surely have a lot of enemies.
Could you elaborate a bit on Mr. Willingham's behavior?
Oh, he was a proud one. Thought he was God's gift to mankind. Always strutting around, bragging about how many gratuities he'd earned or how many fist fights he'd won against drivers from Phillips. He had the shortest fuse I've ever seen, too. Just looking at him the wrong way could set him off. I'd always laugh to myself when he'd brag about how many women he'd had in a week.
Why is that?
Because it was obvious he had to pay for the pleasure. A man like that isn't going to get a woman otherwise.
Are you familiar with the so-called Justice Killer?
I've heard a few rumors here and there about some murders in the Chum, but I haven't paid him much attention. There's plenty for me to worry about in my own life.
Aren't you concerned for your safety?
Not really. Well, I haven't done anything wrong. So if this loony's going around doing justice, nothing for me to worry about.
He makes a good point. I think we need to get a better idea of what exactly these victims did to incur the wrath of our killer.
I appreciate your time, sir.
Pleasure's all mine.
Remember, a black eye is not a badge of honor. Anyone picking a fight will be dismissed immediately. Well, that's hardly any fun, is it? I thought about a career as a mechanic once. Glad I chose police work. Way less messy.
You there! What are you doing?
I'm Miles Fordham. I'm trying to find out about...
No time for that now! Get in here and shield your eyes!
I beg your pardon?
Just do it!
What's going on exactly?
Shh! Everything ready, Alex? 3, 2, 1, go! Amazing! It works! It works!
What works?
Etheric lamps! Our experiment was a success!
What exactly have we wandered into here, Miles?
May I ask you a few questions?
Of course! What would you like to know?
What is it you do here exactly?
Oh, several things. This is the main hub of the city's Department of Illumination. It's really just a grandiose way of saying that this is where all affairs related to street lamps and public lighting are taken care of. But, in addition to sending out lamplighters or mechanics to repair damaged lamps, we also do research into new methods of illumination. That's what my personal specialization is. I help develop and test more efficient ways of lighting our streets. I guess you could consider me a modern-day Prometheus. Yes.
More like an everyday pretentious.
You mentioned something about etheric lamps?
Yes! Weren't you paying attention to our demonstration? You have just witnessed history!
What I witnessed was a blinding flash of light.
Exactly! That flash was the result of years of painstaking research and experimentation. It means that not only does ethericity exist, but it can be used as a source of illumination. If these experiments continue to be successful, as I suspect they will, we'll have etheric street lamps before the end of the decade! Imagine lamps that burn twice as bright, 4 times as long. Oh, this will change everything.
And if it's like anything else we've seen, it'll put a lot of people out of work, too.
You worked with a man named Burley Cause, is that right?
Yes, I heard he was killed. Such a senseless tragedy. It's a shame he missed out on our demonstration. He was really interested in etheric technology.
Wasn't he concerned about losing his job to these technological advances?
He had no reason to. It's been made clear to all the workers that there will always be a place for us, even if our jobs are made obsolete. Unlike some other places, we take care of our own here at the Lamplight Depot.
How noble. But I'm pretty sure he's full of more hot air than the HMS Lenore.
Is there anything you know about Mr. Cause's personal life that might be relevant?
I know he was married, but I don't believe he had any children. Oh, and he used to talk about his love for fishing.
Could you give me his home address? Perhaps his wife will be willing to speak with me.
Yes, certainly. He lived at 820 Orchard Avenue, apartment 2A.
Thank you for the information. Do you know any details about Mr. Cause's murder?
Unfortunately, I don't. The police were here asking questions, but they didn't give me many details.
Do you know of anyone who might have wanted him dead?
Not at all. Burley was very friendly, always treated everyone around here with respect. You know, it's sad to think that for all our leaps forward, we're still really just a bunch of savages.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
I've read about it in the newspaper. A horrible business. It makes me wish we could install more street lamps to keep this city safer at night. Someday, I hope to realize that dream. Then we'll really deserve to be called Lamplight City.
You think brighter streets will stop serial murderers?
It's well known that crime rates are lower in Lyon and Worcester, and they have many more street lamps per square mile.
I'm sure it has absolutely nothing to do with the amount of wealth in those areas. Has to be all about the lighting.
Thank you. Your cooperation is much appreciated.
Happy to help.
Too bad you didn't get a chance to read that sign before their little experiment. I wouldn't get too close to that thing. It might end up turning you inside out.
Excuse me.
Hey, what are you doing here? This is a construction area.
I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator. I'm looking into the murder of a man who used to work here.
Fordham? You the same man who got Laura Dupre arrested?
Yes, that's right.
Ah, good to meet you. I'm Gerard. My sister Amelie used to work as her cook. Would tell me stories about how horrible Dupre was. Good to see some justice done for a change.
Glad to be of service. And good to meet you as well, Gerard.
So you say you looking into a murder? You talking about Bowditch?
Yes, that's right. I had a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Nah, should be okay to talk for a few minutes.
How's your sister doing?
Good. She still works for the Dupre family, but with that monster Laura gone, she's much happier. She tells me the family is acting like the madame never existed, and the husband raised Amelie's pay, too.
That does sound like an improvement.
It's just a shame 2 others had to die for it.
Do you normally work in construction?
Mostly. Sometimes I be doing other jobs here and there. But I'm lucky to have gotten this job. I think it will keep me in work for a long time. Which is good, because I have 3 mouths to feed at home.
Be sure to watch yourself, then. I hear these types of jobs can be dangerous.
Oh, believe me, I know. One slip up and bam! That's the end of you. But I always watch myself.
So, the Gascon-Chumley Bridge is finally being worked on.
That's right. The project started up again shortly after the election. That Leroy, he's not wasting any time. Maybe a good thing for this city and for the country.
We'll have to wait and see. How long before the bridge is complete, do you think?
They say it will take 5 years, but who knows? As long as the work is steady, you won't find me complaining.
You worked with Ennis Bowditch, right? What can you tell me about him?
Ennis was fun to talk to, always telling stories. Pretty sure most of them were made up. But it made time go by faster while we worked, and he made me laugh. We weren't really friends, but it's duller without him around, you know?
Do you know what Bowditch did on his off time?
Not really. I only saw him on the job. But I know he was seeing a woman. I forget what he said her name was, though.
Did he mention anything else about her?
Oh, sure, but I don't think they are the type of thing that would help you, if you get my meaning.
Right. Anything of a non-personal nature that might help me find her?
Yes, he mentioned she worked as the serving girl at the ruined coffee house.
I see. Thanks.
Hmm.
Do you know any details concerning Bowditch's murder?
I only found out when the boss man told us.
Can you think of anyone who might have wanted him dead?
Well, everyone here liked him. I don't think he owed no one money or nothing like that. But maybe someone at his other job wasn't so friendly with him. Who knows?
Other job?
Ennis also worked at the docks as a longshoreman.
Well, that would have been handy to know sooner. Better late than never, I guess.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
Justice Killer? No, I don't know anything about that. Who is he?
A serial murderer. He's the one who killed Ennis Bowditch.
And you trying to find him?
That's the plan.
Well then, I wish you luck. Ennis didn't deserve to die the way he did. I hope that murdering bastard gets what he deserves.
Thank you, Gerard. I appreciate the information.
Not a problem, boss.
Make sure there's nothing
Leave him
else
to
here.
his work for now.
Okay, so there might be something here later on, or it just might not want to. Might just be nothing. It's strange how we get the coffee shop again, isn't it? Let's go here.
Well, that doesn't look good. This place sure is big. I wonder if they actually make anything useful.
Excuse me, sir. Are you in charge here?
Unfortunately. Who are you? This area isn't open to the public.
I'm Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator
Hey,
looking into
Master,
the
how
murder
you
of
doing?
one of your workers.
A private investigator, eh? And maybe you can help me out.
I'll do what I can, but I'll need to ask you some questions, Mr.
Mims. Sanford Mims. Go ahead, but make it snappy.
How long have you been the foreman here?
Sometimes I think it's been too long. Things were so much easier before we got these machines. They keep saying they're supposed to improve our lives, but they've been nothing but trouble. I've already had 5 of my best men get mangled by some of them. And then there's these damn fools blowing things up. My hair wasn't this gray 5 years ago, you know. I swear one of these days, I'm just going to pack it all up and retire. Let someone else deal with these damn things.
What happened to your iron mill?
What's it look like? The damn thing went and got blown up.
Was it in disrepair?
Of course not. All my machinery is sound, checked and serviced regularly. This is the work of those goddamn Redites. I'm sure of it.
What makes you certain the explosion was the Redites doing?
Take a look, boy. The whole mill got taken out. Even if this had been a mechanical failure, which it wasn't, the explosion would have been contained to a single part of the machine. This couldn't have been anything other than sabotage.
Have you had problems with the Redites before?
They've sent anonymous letters, but this is the first time they've actually carried out one of their threats.
You're absolutely sure this was sabotage, then?
Yes. How many times have I got to tell you that? Listen, you said you were an investigator, right? So find out who did this to my machine. If you do, I'll help you out with whatever else you wanted to ask me about.
Looks like we haven't got much of a choice. He seems pretty upset about his machine.
I'll see what I can do. What can you tell me about Hannibal Kirkland? A former employee here?
Listen, I've got a lot on my mind right now.
I understand, but it's important to my investigation that you tell me what you know about him.
I'm sure it is, but as you can see, I've got a lot to deal with right now.
I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out.
Completely ruined. Whoever sabotaged this knew what they were doing.
Yep, definitely obstructing justice.
Completely ruined.
Hey, that area is for workers only.
My apologies.
Okay.
And I thought the housekeeping in my apartment was bad. The number's a bit faded. Is this 2B or is it not 2B? That's the question. Apartment 2A. This is the place. There doesn't seem to be anyone at home.
Yeah? May I help you, young man?
Hello, madam. My name is Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator. I have some questions about your neighbor.
You mean my former neighbor?
Yes. In any case, I'd appreciate it if you could help me with some information.
Nah, I don't think so. The last person to ask me about him was that awful policeman. I don't want to have to go through that again.
I'm sorry you had a bad experience, but I can assure you I won't give you a hard time.
Well, that's easy for you to say, but actions speak louder than words.
Uh-oh. I think I know where this is going.
Is there anything I can do for you then?
Well, since you asked, my layabout husband is out wasting our retirement fund with his drinking. Go find him and bring him back here. Then maybe we can talk.
Oh, wonderful. Now we're playing babysitter.
You'll find him at the Silent Raven. It's not too far from here.
Yes, I know it.
Good. My husband's name is Kurt Williamson. You tell him his wife Ethel wants him home at once.
I'll do my best, Mrs. Williamson.
They're all kind of like obstructing it at this point. They're like, oh, well, I can't bother to tell you. Go do this for me and then I'll tell you. And it's just like, really? Wait.
Excuse me, barmaid?
Hi, what do you need?
How are things here now that the election hubbub has subsided?
Oh, right. I thought you looked familiar. You were the one in here asking about the fellow who was killed.
That's right.
Well, there hasn't been too much excitement since then. I've hardly had to toss anyone
Yeah, probably
out,
not.
which is a right shame.
Why's that?
Kicking out a rowdy customer shakes things up a bit on a quiet night like this. Gets the blood flowing, you know?
What would a customer have to do to warrant being thrown out?
My general rule is if they're being a nuisance, they're out. If they try to pick a fight or are just being generally disrespectful, it's a one-way ticket to the pavement outside.
Good to know. Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
What is that, some fancy drink concoction?
No. It's the name that's been given to a serial murderer here in the Chum.
I see. Never heard of him. And if he's smart, he won't show his face around here.
You know, this place suddenly feels just a little bit safer.
Do you know anything about the man sitting at that table over there?
Not really. He comes in here a few times a week, but he mostly keeps to himself. I see his type all the time, though. Older, probably retired and looking to escape his home life. I feel sorry for him, but that sort of customer is my bread and butter.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
Excuse me, are you Kurt Williamson?
That's right. Who are you?
Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator.
Oh, yeah? What is it you want from me?
Ethel sent me to tell you she wants you to come home right away.
I should have known. I can't get away for more than a few hours before she's put the entire city on high alert. How much of my retirement fund did she waste on getting you to come down here?
I'm only doing this because I need some information.
The joke's on you, then. You can just go back and tell her I'll come home when I'm damn well ready.
Why is it you're so averse to returning home?
I enjoy going out and having a good time. Is that so wrong?
Your wife told me she doesn't like you spending your money on drink.
What I spend my money on is none of her business, and even less of yours. What's this world coming to when a man can't even drink in peace without all his affairs shouted from the rooftops?
You know, this whole situation seems awfully familiar.
Listen, Mr. Williamson, I think I know what you're going through.
Oh, yeah?
My wife and I were having a rough patch. I wasn't being honest with her, and it nearly drove us apart.
But you managed to fix things.
Yes, I was fortunate. I did the right thing before it was too late.
And what did you do?
It was simple. I just communicated honestly and openly with her. I told her what was wrong and how I was feeling. And you know what? She listened. Have you ever told Ethel why you like going out?
No. I assumed she wouldn't understand. I really wish she would come out with me, but I know she'd never agree.
How do you know? Have you actually talked to her about this?
Well, no.
Well, then maybe you should. If she knew you wanted company, she might just give it a try.
You know, I never thought of it like that. I'm going to go home right now and tell her. And if she refuses, well, at least I asked, right?
That's the spirit.
Thanks for the advice, friend. I really do appreciate it.
Not bad. I have to say, I'm impressed.
Mr. Fordham, thank you so much for getting Kurt back home.
Don't mention it. Now, would you be willing to answer some questions?
Well, yes, of course.
How long have you been living here?
Well, Kurt and I moved in shortly after we were married, so it's been about 34 years.
Goodness, that's a long time to be living in one place.
Yes, well, the building may be a bit run down, and it gets colder than cold in the winter, but the rent has always been cheap. You can't really ask for much more than that.
Tell me what you know about Burley Cause.
He and his wife hadn't been living next door very long, maybe 4 months or so. But I didn't talk to either of them very much. They weren't interested in being neighborly, I guess. It's a shame, really. Maybe if we had known one another better, something like this could have been prevented.
Where is Mrs. Cause now?
I don't know, with her mother, maybe. That's usually how it goes.
You wouldn't happen to know where that is, would you?
Afraid not, but, there is one other thing.
Yes?
Don't say I told you this, but, well, I used to hear the two of them through my wall. I tried ignoring it since it's really none of my business, but it became impossible.
What was it you heard?
I don't believe they had a happy marriage. They'd have awful fights a couple times a week.
What would they fight about?
Oh, all sorts of things. The worst one was when she discovered he was going to a brothel. I think he might have hit her on a few occasions, too, but I can't be certain. I hope you don't think me a horrible old gossip, but I thought you might like to know.
Not at all. I'm glad you told me.
So are they all, like, hitting women or something? Is that the connection?
What happened on the day Mr. Cause was killed?
I was here, at home, doing my knitting as usual. All of a sudden, I heard a loud bang. It sounded like a gunshot. I went and knocked on Mrs. Cause's door, but there was no answer. I did notice a smell, though, like flowers. Something seemed wrong, so I decided to report the incident to the police. Not long after that, an officer showed up and started asking questions. awful man he was. So rude. I gotta report him, but I forgot his name. I think it started with a P.
Parsons?
Yes, that's him. He called for some more officers and they got into the apartment. That's when I found out Mr. Cause had been murdered.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
You mean the serial killer who's been killing men in Chumley?
That's the one.
Nah, never heard of him.
What?
I'm just pulling your leg, Mr. Fordham.
I like this one.
He
She's got
explains it
spirit.
and she goes, nah, never heard of him.
Unfortunately, I only know what I've read in the Gazette, but it's scary to think some maniac is loose on the streets doing such terrible things. And with Kurt going out by himself for hours at a time, oh, I don't like it one bit.
I appreciate your time, Mrs. Williamson.
Have a good day, Mr. Fordham.
Alright, before we carry on, I'm just gonna BRB one sec, guys. And I'm back. Okay, so she's probably not there anymore. She's probably gone after he died. But it sounds like the connection is that they were all women beaters because her husband used to hit her. The one of the cab driver apparently used to get in fights and stuff, didn't he? And then this one, was he from here? I can't think which one he was from now. So those two would hit their wives.
You heard about the murderer? The Justice Killer? Pretty crazy, huh? Killing everywhere out there.
Begging your pardon, miss.
How can I help you, sir?
You've been working here for quite a while, haven't you?
I have, yes. Coming up on 3 years. It's been a real pleasure getting to know all the regulars. They've come to be sort of like a second family. By the way, whatever happened with you and your lady friend?
I beg your pardon?
Well, that nice lady you met in here a couple of times. Did it work out between the two of you?
Oh, that? No, that was strictly business.
Right. Well, if you see her, tell her I said hello.
I understand you were involved with Ennis Bowditch.
Was involved, yes. I haven't spoken to him in nearly 2 months.
Oh, were you not aware of his death then?
What? Ennis is dead?
Well, this is awkward.
Indeed. I'm sorry to have to be the bearer of bad news.
How did it happen?
I'm afraid he was murdered.
Murdered? By who? And why?
Those are exactly the questions I'm trying to answer myself.
Oh, I see. Are you a detective?
A private investigator, yes.
Well, I'll answer what I can. If it helps any, that is.
I'm certain it will. What was your relationship with Mr. Bowditch like?
Oh, well, it was nice at first. He was a proper gentleman-like. But then something changed.
Oh?
It's like I told Ruby. I think he might have got hit on the head at work, because he seemed to be a completely different person. He'd get angry for no reason. He even... Well, that bit's not important. At first, I thought he was just going through some rough times, but after a while I realized
That's what I'm
he
guessing it.
changed for the worse. So I broke things off. He wasn't too happy about it, but I wasn't going to stick with a man like that.
This friend of yours, Ruby, did she know an MP named Percival McDonough?
I'm not sure. Ruby knows a lot of men.
Is that so?
Well, no, I don't mean... It's just... Oh, damn it all, me and my big mouth. She'll have my guts for garters now.
It's all right. No one's in trouble. But I think I'd like to speak with Ruby. Could you tell me where I can find her?
No. You see, she moves around quite a lot. Never in the same place for more than a night or two.
Right. I think she's given us a clear picture of what Ruby does for a living. Normally, I'd be all for pressing this girl more until she cracks, but I like her. I think we'll be able to find Ruby without causing her more discomfort.
Well, thank you for the information. You've been very helpful. Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
Justice Killer? Is that some kind of pesticide?
No, it isn't. Never mind. I'll let you get back to work.
Thank you, sir.
So, because Ruby was on the calendar at 8 PM the night before.
Blank surfaces don't stay that way for very long around here. This sign could use a fresh coat of paint. Ah, the chum. You can never truly get away from it as much as you may try.
Trevor Hastings, is that you?
Why, Detective Fordham. Fancy seeing you again. What brings you down to the docks?
I'm trying to track down a serial murderer, who I believe is the same man who was breaking into the flower shop.
You don't say. I wish I could help you, but the guy never came back after the night you and your partner came around. Where is your partner anyway?
Oh, he's around.
Well, give him my regards. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get this crate back, or Cecilia will have my head on a platter.
Of course. Good seeing you again.
He's around? That's probably the most clever thing you've said in months. Well done.
Huh? What? Who is it?
Hello, sir. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Go ahead, but make it quick. Time is money,
Make
after
it
all.
snappy. What they always keep saying.
What does your work here involve?
I'm in charge of tracking and cataloging all the cargo that passes through here. I receive the shipping manifest and make sure that things get unloaded and sent to the right places.
And you do all this by yourself?
Well, of course not. I'm in charge of administration. A team of workers does all the heavy lifting.
Did you employ a man named Ennis Bowditch?
I did, yes. He only worked for me occasionally, but he was always punctual and performed his job well. I learned recently that he had been killed. It was a tremendous shame. Workers of his caliber are so hard to come by.
Do you have any information relating to Mr. Bowditch's murder?
I'm afraid not. The truth is, I knew very little about him. It's the same with most of my men. I have a business to run, you see. It affords me very little time to socialize.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
I believe I saw a headline in the newspaper recently mentioning that name, but I dismissed it as fear-mongering nonsense. There are more important things I need to worry about.
But the Justice Killer is directly responsible for the death of one of your workers.
Oh? Is that right? Well, there's nothing I can do about it. What my men get up to in their off time is none of my business.
Wow, this guy is even worse than you, Miles.
Thank you for your time. I'll let you return to work.
Right you are.
Oh, crap.
Fordham, how goes the investigation?
I'm making some headway.
Is that right? I certainly hope so for your sake.
Chief Snelling?
Yes, Fordham?
What information do you have on the Justice Killer?
Clearly not as much as you.
I see how this is gonna go.
Well, what do you have?
A list of 5 victims, some information on each of them, and no clear idea what connects them. Until your discovery of the lily at each scene, that was where we stood. While I doubt this discovery will do much to aid in tracking him down, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the
because they're all thinking it's a guy. What if it isn't a guy, and it just sounded like a guy?
Do you know anything about Percival McDonough?
He's a member of Parliament. I believe his constituency is somewhere in central Kingsland. From the reports I've gotten, McDonough led a rather unassuming life for a politician. He is, however, the first victim who didn't live in Chumley. Either there's a link we've missed, or the killer is changing his method. Then again, since you seem so confident in your abilities to resolve this matter, I assume you'll provide an explanation.
Count on it. What do you know about the Justice Killer's previous victims?
Only what's in their files. All working men from Chumley. That's the only link.
You didn't look further into their personal lives? Maybe they had some social connection.
As I said, the detectives found nothing. You seem to think you can do better, so I'll leave it up to you.
You have to wonder how much more thorough the department's investigations would have been if the 4 men were all rich like McDonough.
So I see the department is still running like a well-oiled machine.
It is, in fact. But I'm sure Upton has kept you well informed of our activities. Incidentally, the woman accused in the Harris kidnapping is set to testify in court today.
Linda Walker's trial is today? That was fast.
Indeed. Sometimes the wheels of justice grind slowly. Sometimes they spin out of control. She'll be taking the stand within the hour. If you care to hear her for yourself, best get going soon.
Have you got any information on the Redites?
The Redites? That ridiculous gang of troublemakers? Yes, I have some information. What's your interest in them?
A witness is refusing to speak with me unless I can figure out who sabotaged his iron mill.
I see. All I can offer is a list of names of known Redites along with their last known whereabouts. But I remind you that you only have until tomorrow afternoon before this indulgence expires, and I throw you in jail. This seems like a waste of time.
That's my decision to make.
Very well. I'll give you the list when you're ready to leave.
Listen, about Leger's death.
I don't want to hear it, Fordham. What happened, happened. Nothing you can say is going to change my opinion on the matter.
And if I manage to find the man responsible?
The man responsible is standing before me. Even if you manage to find the culprit you let escape, it isn't going to bring Leger back from the dead.
But it will bring closure to the matter.
If that thought is what allows you to sleep at night, then so be it.
What makes him think you sleep at night?
Enjoying your new position, Snelling?
Reaping the rewards for years of hard work and dedicated service. A gratifying feeling you'll never be able to experience.
Such an ass, isn't he?
I get my gratification in other ways.
I'm sure you do, and I'd honestly rather not know about them.
I need to get back to my investigation.
Yes. Time is not on your side, Fordham.
Because see, the thing was, Bill asked Miles to shoot the culprit. And Miles just happened to miss. You know, it's not
This is a lot
Miles.
of names.
Exactly.
If we're going to track down this saboteur, it might be best to retire to a more tranquil environment. Fancy a trip back to Upton's? The rumor was always that the chief kept a bottle of something in a secret compartment in this cabinet. In Snelling's case, it's probably just water. Every book and file in there is organized to perfection. I'll bet Snelling gets flustered if anything is even a millimeter out of place. You should bump into the side when he's not looking. Chief Jacobs. Now there was a leader. Remind me, Miles, why are we here again? Is this for your own personal satisfaction, or did you expect her to have some useful information?
Shh! Mrs. Linda Walker, you stand accused of kidnapping Charles Harris. What have you to say in your defense?
I had to see if I could speak with my son Alexander again.
Yes. According to your initial statement, you seem to believe that the Harris child is the reincarnation of your own deceased son.
All the evidence was there. I thought it had to be him.
And in regards to the execution of your plan, you secretly administered a soporific drug to your friend and the Harris family nanny, Mrs. Henrietta Davis? Is that correct?
Yes. I felt terrible about doing it, but there was no other way.
According to your journal, you used a mixture of chamomile and valerian, instructed by a Samuel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Samuel is a friend of mine. He works at the docks, and he knows all about plants. I asked him what the best combination of herbs would be to put someone in a deep sleep.
So it was your idea, and not his?
Yes, that's right. He only told me about the plants. He's quite the expert. Why, you should see his collection of Easter lilies.
Did she just say what I think she said?
Now then, let's turn our attention to the night in question.
Interesting. This Samuel person might be worth looking into, although we can't waste time searching the docks with just a first name. I'd make a note of it, just in case it becomes relevant later. Alright, I've had enough of this courtroom. Let's get back out there. Time's running out.
That was a good thing we went to see that, wasn't it?
Right, this should be a quiet enough spot to concentrate on finding that saboteur. I just hope Upton doesn't mind you turning her parlor into your own personal study.
I'm sure she'll have no objection. Now, let's have a look at that list again.
I think we can rule out Mr. Sullivan as a suspect. He's Western Vespuccia's problem now. Unless Mr. McKee has escaped from prison, which I highly doubt, he's not our man. This might be who we're looking for, but it also might not be.
No harm in paying him a visit, except losing time in our other investigation.
If dead men could cause explosions, let's just say things would be a lot different. This clearly isn't the right suspect. This might be who we're looking for, but it also might not be.
We could pay him a visit. Who knows? We might get lucky.
It's possible that this is who we're looking for, but without some way to be absolutely sure, we're in danger of wasting precious time.
I'm not usually the gambling type, but a 1 in 3 chance doesn't strike me as the best odds.
So...
This might be who...
We could pay him a visit.
One and 3, so let's give a quick save again. Just in case, because you never know. Don't want to pick the wrong one and then, like, waste the time, but... Peyton, because Peyton's apparently had 6 sabotages.
Well, well, who's this lovely specimen?
Allow me to introduce Peyton Ferguson, known Redite and prime suspect in a sabotage at the Thorbomb Ironworks. I picked him up and brought him straight to you.
Ooh, a saboteur. Just leave him to me and I'll make him feel right at home.
Please find the Justice Killer soon, Miles. Being Giles' prisoner is not my idea of a good time.
Right. I'll leave you to it then. Mr. Mims, a word if you wouldn't mind?
Yes, what is it?
I found the person responsible for sabotaging your iron mill.
Oh, yeah?
His name is Peyton Ferguson. He's currently at the Bow Street Jail.
Hey, Not bad. I owe you one, Detective.
That's a good pick, I guess, right?
It does.
What can you tell me about Hannibal Kirkland?
Good worker. Mostly kept to himself. Real shame what happened to him.
Do you know if anyone here disliked Kirkland?
Enough to want him dead? Nah. There's the occasional scrap, but everyone around here gets along for the most part. Like I said, he mostly kept to himself. Head down, didn't bother nobody.
Do you know what he did outside of work?
No idea. I only ever saw him here.
You said Kirkland was a good worker?
One of my best. I knew something was up when he didn't show up for a couple of days. Don't think he'd ever missed work before.
Did he have any personal effects he kept here, or an area where he worked?
He had a cabinet downstairs in the workers' changing area, just like everyone else. You can go take a look if you want, but I don't think the police found anything. Kirkland's cabinet is the third one from the left.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
The who?
He's a serial murderer who's killed 5 men over the past 4 months.
Is that right? Never heard of him.
He may have killed one of your men. Weren't the police here asking about it?
Oh, is that what that was all about? I know they came poking around here a while back, but I was busy dealing with other things.
It's nice to see the lines of communication here are wide open.
I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out.
Sounds like there's someone in there. If you weren't so bashful, I'd suggest joining in. You could certainly use it. Just another unmarked storage cabinet.
Oh, great.
At least having a heater... At least having a heat...
Yep. Look at that.
Empty. That's disappointing.
Not completely empty. There's something at the bottom here.
Ah, that's
It
the
seems our
the
friend
right?
Hannibal had a few extracurricular activities after all.
Gilded lily, huh? That's a bit suspicious.
Who knew such a pretty flower could cause such an inconvenience? The answer to that question is me, in case you were wondering. Flowers bring nothing but trouble. Trouble and snot.
That's enough, Bill. We need to get a move on.
Well, hello there, handsome. Welcome to the Gilded Lily. Come over here and tell me what kind of pleasure it is you're looking for.
I'm afraid I'm here for business, not pleasure.
Oh, well, that's just a shame, isn't it?
I'm Miles Fordham, private
Do you wear an
investigator.
eye patch, or
And
is that
you
just
are?
me?
You can call me Serafina. I'm in charge of this establishment.
You won't mind if I take a look around or ask you some questions?
As long as you keep to the front room, you can do whatever you like. Beyond that, you're gonna have to pay.
Maybe it's best if you leave this part out when you tell Adelaide about the case later. I'm not too familiar with places like this, but I believe that's where the fun happens. If you've got the crowns for it. Oh, my virgin eyes! You certainly won't find art like that at the National Gallery. What a charming statue. Wouldn't she get cold fetching water in that state of undress? Looks nervous. Wonder if this is his first time.
May I ask you a few questions, Serafina?
Of course you may, but I can't guarantee the answers will be free.
Really? Oh, she is wearing an eye patch, look.
So, how did you get into this business?
Like many of the other girls, it was the best of some bad options. I had no interest in being beholden to a husband. I may be a fallen woman, but better to fly and fall than to have your wings clipped.
Do you enjoy the work?
It's a job like any other, Mr. Fordham. There are good days and there are bad days. But my girls are my family. We take care of each other. I couldn't ask for anything better.
This is a lovely establishment you have, and such a nice name, too.
Thank you, my dear. It wasn't always called the Gilded Lily, though. We were formerly known as Le Maison de Tolérance.
What inspired the name change?
Ah, that's a bit of a long story. Not worth getting into.
How long have you been operating?
Going on 25 years. Business has been good. There's a reason this is the world's oldest profession, you know.
Do you by chance have a girl named Ruby in your service?
Ruby? Yes, she's one of our newest girls. She's not in any sort of trouble, is she?
Not at all. I merely wanted to speak with her.
Well, she should be in the dressing room. If you go through the rear door and follow the hallway down, it's the last door on the left.
I see. Thank you. Did you know Percival McDonough?
The politician? I knew who he was, but never met him personally.
He was seeing Ruby, wasn't he?
Not regularly, no. In fact, his first and only visit with her was yesterday.
Were you aware that he was murdered shortly after that?
I had no idea. How terrible.
Yes, it is terrible. This means she's lost a potential repeat customer.
Did you have a man named Hannibal Kirkland as a client?
I make it my practice not to learn the names of any customers here, Mr. Fordham. I hate to disappoint anyone who comes through those doors, but discretion is paramount in this business.
Well, at least you know you can trust these women with your secrets.
Do you know anything about the Justice Killer?
I'm afraid not, dear. I don't normally associate with killers.
Are you sure you don't know anything? He's the reason I'm here.
Well, I can assure you I know nothing about your murderer. If the trail has led you here, it's surely just coincidence.
Yeah, she seems awfully certain of that. It's a good thing we don't believe in coincidences.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, my dear.
Oh, hello. Did Serafina send you back here for me?
Yes, but not for the usual reasons. I'm a private investigator. My name is Miles Fordham. Ruby, I presume?
Yes, that's right. What do you need from me?
Just some information.
Well, I'll do my best.
The girls here don't get much in the way of a dressing area. Still, something is better than nothing, I suppose. Lily, 1809 to 1843. I wonder what happened to her. That's a nice locket for being such a cheap piece of jewelry.
Very strange, isn't it? So was it 3, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 3.
No lilies? Seems like a missed opportunity. I'm guessing this is where most of the girls keep their personal belongings. Doesn't seem to offer much in the way of privacy.
So, Ruby.
Yes?
How long have you been in this business?
Only a few months now. Used to work at a kitchen, but then they brought in some of those new automated machines.
Ah, sadly familiar story.
At least this profession isn't in any danger of being made obsolete by steam tech. Cold steel can never replace a warm touch.
Let's just hope that's true.
That's a rather nice portrait. Who's the subject?
Oh, that's Lily. Before my time. Serafina knows loads about her. Even changed the name of this place in her honor. You might try asking her if you want to know more.
You met recently with Percival McDonough, is that right?
How did you know that? I thought he was meant to keep those sorts of things private.
He had your name written down in his calendar.
And you found me here based on that?
Well, I am a detective.
Suppose that's true. Anyway, yes. I only met him the one time. There wasn't anything remarkable about him. After we finished, he got all emotional about his wife, but I could hardly understand what he was saying. I hate it when they cry afterwards.
Are you familiar with Reggie Willingham?
Oh, him? He had to be banned from here.
Really? What happened?
He got way too rough with one of the girls. She ended up shy a few teeth.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't too fond of boundaries. Good riddance to him, I say.
Were you aware that Mr. Willingham was murdered?
What? Oh, well, now I feel terrible for saying good riddance. I meant...
I think I know what you meant, Ruby. It's fine.
Is it me, or is there a pattern starting to emerge here?
It definitely is.
Did you ever meet a man named Burley Cause?
No, I never met him, but one of the other girls had him as a client. I remember because she was laughing about his name. He wasn't very burly, if you get my meaning.
Right. Do you know Ennis Bowditch?
Bowditch? Didn't think I'd be hearing that name again.
As I understand it, he was seeing your friend, the serving girl at the ruined coffee house.
Yeah, that's right. Annabelle. She broke things off with him a while ago, though.
So she said. Did you ever know him to be violent?
Violent? The bastard nearly beat Annabelle's brains in once. Why do you think she chucked him?
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's something to do with them beating up a
At least
woman,
she had the
isn't
good
it?
sense to get rid of him.
Perhaps we should go
definitely
confirm this
affection.
newly discovered fact with Annabelle.
Did you ever have a client named Hannibal Kirkland?
No, that name doesn't sound familiar. Sorry.
Have you heard of the Justice Killer?
No, I don't believe so.
He's a serial murderer who's killed 5 victims, mostly men from Chumley.
Oh dear, that sounds dreadful. Is that what you're investigating?
It is. Do you know anyone who might have some information about him?
I don't. Sorry I can't be more help.
I'll just leave you to it then.
Thanks, love.
May I ask you a few questions, Serafina?
Of course you may, but I can't guarantee the answers will be free.
Could you tell me about the young lady in the portrait hanging in the back room?
Ah, that's Lily Peterson. She was a wonderful woman and a great friend.
What happened to her?
It's a rather tragic story, Mr. Fordham. I'd rather not go into too much detail. The short version is this. She was with a client who got very carried away. She was able to defend herself enough to mortally wound the bastard, but the damage had already been done. The girls and I decided among us that we would rename this establishment in her honor. Some days it's still hard to believe she's gone. I haven't even been able to get rid of her box of things.
I'm very sorry for your loss, Serafina.
Thank you, dear. It was especially awful given Lily's past. Her sister died at the hands of her own husband some 16 years before. Some people just can't escape tragedy, no matter how
Definitely a
far they
pattern
run.
coming here.
Something
with
tells
that.
me these deaths are significant. It might be a good idea to learn as much as we can about Lily Peterson.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, my dear.
Begging your pardon, miss.
How can I help you, sir?
I spoke with your friend Ruby. She told me something quite disturbing.
What was that?
She said that Ennis had fits of violence, and that the reason you ended your relationship was because he hit you.
Why would she tell you that? That was my secret to tell, not hers. I thought we were friends.
It's obvious she cares about you and was worried about your well-being.
Well, it hardly matters now Ennis is dead, does it?
But is it true? Did he raise his hand to you?
Yes. It is true. As I said before, something changed in him. I have no idea what, but I had to get away.
I see. Thank you for your honesty. I'm sorry you had to experience what you did. I'll let you get back to work.
Thank you, sir.
So they're all violent. Violent and violent. So they've all been violent pretty much, haven't they? So that's obviously got to be one of the key things here to it.
You're telling me, yeah. Jeez, I know. It's like all over the place. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I can't tell. It's just be someone there. Oh, I stayed away.
May I ask you a few questions?
Of course! What would you like to know?
With all these promises of technological advancement, have the Redites given you any trouble?
Oh, those tech-fearing dolts. Yes, I'm sorry to say that we've gotten threats from them. They have yet to carry any out, which is unsurprising.
How so?
Groups like that are all bluster and no backbone.
I've seen some evidence to the contrary.
Is that right? Well, we've seen little beyond threatening letters, and I intend to make sure it stays that way.
Do you have any of these letters I might have a look at?
Yes, I have one. I'll give it to you before you leave.
Thank you. Your cooperation is much appreciated.
Happy to help. Here's that letter you were asking about.
So I need to pick the right one, look. PF 18. That's good.
Now that's interesting. Whoever wrote this letter signed it with initials. They can't have been so stupid as to make themselves so easily identifiable, can they? Perhaps it would be a good idea to take another look at that list you got from Snelling.
I think I was supposed to get that before picking out the right one. But doesn't matter now, we've done that.
Excuse me, Gerard?
Yeah?
Would you happen to know anything about the Redites?
I heard some of the other men talking about them, but I don't ask too many questions. Seems to me they just a bunch of angry and confused people with no other way to express themselves than lashing out. I admit I feel sorry for them.
You're not worried about Steam Tech putting you out of a job?
Nah. Machines can only do so much. You still need a man to make them work or to fix them when they're broke. I think them Redites are just making a big fuss over nothing.
Thank you, Gerard. I appreciate the information.
Not a problem, boss.
Huh, they seem to be making pretty decent progress. Safe for only 25 men at once. I used to draw the line at 2.
I'm guessing that was like an innuendo joke there from Bill.
He seems rather upset over the current circumstances. Probably best not to talk to him unless it's absolutely necessary. Just another unmarked storage cabinet. Just another unmarked storage cabinet. Just another unmarked storage cabinet. Just another.
Okay, so nothing else in here by the looks of it.
No time to waste with the former history book.
Nope, so nothing here then.
Keep up the good work, Mr. Hastings.
No use bothering him again if you've got nothing to ask about.
So we know there's someone called Samuel at the shipyard, we just don't have a surname to Samuel. We just got to figure out what that is. Well, I don't even know how we're going to even find Samuel, who, you know.
Hello again, Mr. Fordham.
Probably best to leave her to her grieving, right?
Okay, so we can't ask her anything else. Can't do anything else there.
Therein lies Upton's boudoir. As a matter of respect, the less said the better, I think. Interesting place for a flower. Whew, that's not a pretty sight. Way to ruin a perfectly good wall. That flower adds a nice touch to an otherwise drab apartment. Too bad about the body, though. Bloody writing. This killer is one sick individual. Must have been a powerful shot to knock him backwards like that. Not a very pretty way to go out. I wonder if he was trying to get something from that safe. The flower certainly brings the room together. You have to wonder what the meaning behind this is. At least this poor slob got to die in bed. The justice killer sure is thorough, you have to give him that. Pretty flower, but is there really anything special about it? It looks pretty similar to the one in your bedroom. I like the color of this one better, though. Not a very inspiring piece. Hell, I could probably paint it better.
Just what am I missing?
We've exhausted her.
So, Ruby.
Yes?
Serafina told me that Lily's possessions are still here. Do you know where they're kept?
Yeah, in that cabinet over there. Lily had a special place in Serafina's heart. I don't think she has the nerve to get rid of this stuff yet.
Do you think I could take a look through it?
Oh, I don't know.
Serafina never has to know. I promise I'll only look, not touch.
If I had a crown for every time I'd heard that. But, alright. As long as you keep your word and don't take anything from the box, I'll let you have a look. I'll get it for you after.
I'll just leave you to it then.
Thanks, love. There you go. All yours for the browsing.
Okay.
These don't look too valuable. A cheap ring. Must have had sentimental value because otherwise there'd be no point in keeping it. Nice scarf, impressively clean too. Lily clearly took care of her things. Let's see what we have in here.
What if it's her son? Or her sister's son? That could be a clue, couldn't it though?
I'm guessing this is where...
There's something else in here that I'm not... Hang on.
One of 3 buttons with an engraved lily on it. I wonder if they're just decorative or if they have some other purpose.
Aha! Secret compartment.
Well now, I think we just found ourselves a bonanza.
All then? I'm guessing we took that there, right?
So, Ruby,
Yes?
I found this letter inside a secret compartment in the box belonging to Lily. Do you know anything about it?
I thought we agreed you wouldn't take anything from there.
This is a special case. This letter's from Lily's nephew, the Justice Killer.
Oh, I see. Look, I've only been here a short time. I don't know anything about Lily or any killers or anything, I swear.
You know, I think she's telling the truth.
I'll just leave you to it then.
Anything.
Thanks, love.
May I ask you a few questions, Serafina?
Of course you may, but I can't guarantee the answers will be free.
Serafina, what can you tell me about Lily's nephew?
Her nephew? I didn't know she had a nephew. Lily didn't talk much about her family, as you can probably imagine.
You're not lying to me, are you?
I have nothing to hide from you.
Except maybe the truth. But I don't think we have what we need to make her talk. If there even is anything that would make her talk.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, my dear.
What a charming step. I'm not... Looks nervous.
I think we're good on...
Okay, so there's nothing else then, is there? need to find something that will make her talk.
Leave him to his work for now.
Hello again.
Probably better.
Okay.
He seems rather upset over the current.
Nope. My last option is to go back to the police station and go from there, but
I don't think there's anything left to say right now. No use bothering him again.
Keep up the good work, Mr. Hastings.
I mean, if her nephew works here, that would make sense as to how he knew when the shipment of lilies were coming in. Because he would see it, wouldn't he? He'd be the one probably lifting them in and going, "Oh, here you go, Mr. Hastings, here's the shipment you need, blah 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 blah."
No time to waste with further.
Okay. Try this by something.
She's busy. Nope.
I'm gonna quickly save it just in case. I'll save over this one because it was fine last time anyway.
Chief Snelling?
Yes, Fordham?
Do you recall a murder involving a woman named Lily Peterson about a year ago?
Lily Peterson? Yes, that name does sound familiar. Of course, the prostitute murder. That wasn't one of yours, was it?
No, it wasn't. Do you remember any other details?
As I recall, the woman was beaten severely by one of her clients, who escaped and was never found. She died a few days later in the hospital. How is this of any relevance, exactly?
That's what I'm trying to piece together. Did you know that Lily Peterson had a sister who was killed some 16 years ago?
I didn't. Are you suggesting that's related somehow?
I think it is. Would you be able to get me the case file?
What was the victim's name?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
That might be a bit more difficult, unless you can give me more details.
I'll try my best.
Very well. What year did you say the case was from?
It was 1826, according to the information I've gathered.
Right. And who was the detective assigned to the case?
It was Lester Barnett.
Right. He was quite active in those days. And what was the victim's official cause of death?
It was strangulation.
All right. I'll have a look and see if I find anything. There's nothing I can see that matches the information you gave me. I suggest you get your details in order before you attempt to waste my time again.
It was Lester Barnett. We know it was Lester Barnett. Or Barnett, sorry. So it wasn't strangulation, so... pretty certain I've got the date right, maybe? Maybe I've got it wrong. I'll look at the newspaper so what the date is. It's 16 years ago from the date, isn't it? Well, not from the date exactly, but you know. So it's 1844. That'd be 1828, so I got the date wrong. So 1828? Can't remember the method. I can't remember if they said it was strangulation or something. It might be wrong. But we'll just go for it again.
Chief Snelling?
Yes?
I really need to take a look at that case.
I can find it for you. What year did you say the case was from?
It was 16 years ago, so 1828.
Right. And who was the detective assigned to the case?
It was Lester Barnett.
Right. He was quite active in those days. And what was the victim's official cause of death?
It might be in suffocation, no, or strangulation, wouldn't it?
It was strangulation.
All right. I'll have a look and see if I find anything. Ah, yes. Here we are. This should be a match. Have a look.
So we have our killer's last name and possible first name, assuming he's the same man Linda Walker talked about. Perhaps it's time to ask about him at the docks.
So Samuel Collins then?
You again? What do you need?
A few more questions, if you don't mind.
Hmm.
Do you know a man named Samuel Collins?
Yes, I do. He's one of my workers.
Is he working today?
No, it's his day off. Why do you ask?
I'm very interested in speaking with him. Could you tell me where I can find him?
I don't just give out information on my men to strangers. What reason do you have for wanting to speak with him?
I believe he may be involved in some serious crimes.
Is that right? And what are these serious crimes, exactly?
Question is, do I tell him, do I not?
I believe Samuel's the justice killer.
What? That's absolutely preposterous. You've got quite some imagination, sir. And here I thought you
Maybe
were
I should have
serious.
said,
About Samuel.
Yes? What about him?
I believe he stole from one of your customers.
What? From who?
The Hanbrook Flower Shop. He stole several orders of Easter lilies.
The Hanbrook Flower Shop? They're not one of my customers. I only sell to wholesalers.
A minor detail. The point remains that your man's a burglar.
That's quite a serious claim. What proof do you have?
You can hear it straight from the man who works at the shop that was burgled.
Well, where is he then?
Wait here just a moment. Excuse me, Mr. Hastings?
What is it, Detective? As I said, I'm rather busy.
I was wondering if you might help me with something. Could you please tell the shipping manager over there about the burglaries at your flower shop?
Certainly.
Go ahead, Mr. Hastings.
Right. It all started around 5 months ago. And he didn't come around again after that night.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings. That'll do. Now are you convinced?
Fine. I hate to lose 2 of my men in such a short amount of time. But if he's done wrong, I can't just stand by. Samuel lives in Chumley, at 210 Abattoir Row.
Thank you, sir. You may have just saved several lives.
But I'm going to have to spend several crowns in order to get things back to normal. Now, if you'll excuse me...
Really? You want me to apprehend him? I think I should really get the police in on this, don't you think? But I guess if we catch him ourselves, then, you know, longer thing. So let's do... our last save. So I'm hoping this might even be the end of it. This might be the very final bit, because this is what was all leading up to. That we had to catch the culprit who led to Bill's death. Even if it was us who shot Bill. Or the lilies.
Samuel Collins?
Yes?
I'm Terrence Shackley from the Labor Department. I wanted to ask you some questions about your employer at the docks.
Oh, of course. Please come in. I'm sorry, what did you say your name was?
Terrence Shackley? But it's not my real name. I just used it to get into your apartment. I believe you did something similar at the Houses of Parliament with Mr. McDonough.
So, you're Fordham, the one who was snooping around at the Gilded Lily.
Indeed. We meet again, Mr. Collins.
Of course. The rooftop. I'm sorry about what happened to your partner. It wasn't my intent for him to die. Oh, he's sorry, is he? Is that supposed to make things better? I suppose this encounter was inevitable. But I admit I didn't think it would be this soon. So, you're here to arrest me.
That's right. Samuel Collins, I'm placing you under arrest for the murders of Percival McDonough, Burley Cause, Ennis Bowditch, Hannibal Kirkland, and Reggie Willingham.
Oh, please. Every one of those men deserve what they got.
Nobody deserves to be shot in the head.
I'm sure your feeling would change if your wife was violated. Surprised I know about her? After our first encounter, I did my own investigation. I had to know what kind of man you were. You were innocent of any wrongdoing. Otherwise, we would have met much sooner.
I understand your reasons, but that doesn't mean your actions were justified. You need to pay for your crimes, one way or another.
My crimes? What about theirs? If not for me, they would have gotten away with them.
There are other ways of upholding justice, Collins. Ways that don't involve mass murder.
The system is broken. Criminals get away all the time. You know that. Only too well. But you comprehend my situation. You understand my reasons for doing what I do.
Understanding is not the same as approval.
But it is the first step. Is this bastard really suggesting what I think he is? All I ask is that you allow me to continue my work in peace.
You asked me to look the other way once before, and I refused.
Yes, and it cost your partner's life.
Well, this time it's just you and me, and I'm still not going to let you off. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to just let you keep killing.
Damn right, Miles. This has to end.
Then you leave me no choice.
Fordham, are you all right?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank God you're a better shot than I was.
So, this is our justice killer?
That's right.
I suppose congratulations are in order. You did well in finding him.
Thank you, Chief Snelling. I'm glad we were finally able to work together.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you weren't so brash as to confront him without notifying me first. Perhaps there is hope for you yet. Now then, I'll go get the other officers so we can lock down the scene and remove the body. Wait here.
Quite a night, eh, Bill? Bill? Are you there? Bill?
It's good of you to do this, Miles. Do you need some time alone?
If you wouldn't mind.
All right. I'll wait for you over by the sycamores.
So, it's finally over. I have to admit, it's been strange not hearing you all the time anymore. Never in a million years did I think I would actually miss it. But the important thing is you've moved on, and I got what I was looking for. I'm starting up my own private detective agency, you know. Addie and Upton are going to be my partners. It should be interesting, to say the least. Oh, that reminds me. I brought you a little something. It's not much, but I thought you might appreciate it. Thank you for all your help, Bill. I truly would have been lost without it. Goodbye, old friend. I love you.
So I guess that's the end of Lamplight City. I'm guessing we got the good end. I really hope we did. I don't know if it tell us that we got the good end, but I know there was an achievement just popped up called Enlightened, so hopefully. It's definitely a really good game, definitely well worth playing through. I mean, at some point what I'm going to probably do is, you know, play it again and just see how I can get the other ending. Whether or not that'll be in a stream will be a different thing. It might just be something I do off stream, because I have got some other point and click games that I would like to play over stream on Twitch. the backseat beside us. And you for playing. Well, you're welcome. Definitely a really good game worth playing. I did kind of like, you know, through some of them where you think you knew what was going on, and then it kind of just throws you off just ever so slightly. But that just might be me. But still, I kind of was like, oh, maybe it's this. Actually, wait, maybe it's that. Ooh, bonus content unlocked in the settings menu. Very nice. Yeah, so that's the end of Lamplight City. So I've completed it, gone through the whole game. I think I'm pretty certain I got the good outcome. I don't know what the bad outcome is. I don't know if there's another outcome. There could be 3 outcomes for all I know. There could be just 2. But that was definitely a good play. Definitely a good detective game. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's stream, and the next stream should hopefully be tomorrow. So I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.